call Sean Scott, it's okay.
I'll still answer.
Yes, well, and that name is forever ruined. My first baby name, which would have been Michael. Everybody got it. For those that may not have gotten that, that's a reference to The Office, and that ruined it and will forever ruin it for a while. But anyway.
I was okay with it.
So we're just going to start off. We've been married for 10 years. This past January was our 10-year wedding anniversary. Thank you. A really, really great milestone. I'm going to start with a little bit about how we became we became we. So I graduated from college, and I was in a serious relationship, and we ended up breaking it off, and I was devastated. I thought this person was the one, so I was absolutely devastated, and I was literally just at home on the couch every night watching TV, and my mom just couldn't take it anymore. So she got together with my brother, Father Jacob Meyer, who is the pastor at St. Monica's here in town. Back then he was a priest in Fort Wayne at St. Charles, and they knew this couple, Chip and Virginia Linen, that ran a high school youth ministry called Antioch, based in Mishawaka.
So, long story short-ish, try and get 2 points, which I'm not good at. So I'm on my way to Antioch one night. I was running the junior high program and leading praise and worship for them. I'm on my way for their normal Sunday night, and I get a phone call from my friend Chip, and he says, "Hey, just so you know, we've got this new female volunteer coming tonight. You should probably make sure that you've taken a shower, that you're dressed nice, just make a good impression." I'm like, I'm already on the way, I'll be fine. Show up. Actually thought she was one of the high school kids at first until we were introduced.
That still happens 12 years later.
We started hanging out. We started spending time together with a group of friends. We eventually started dating. A year later, we were engaged. And then a year after that, we were getting ready to be married. And that's when we finally found out that what had actually happened was Chip and Virginia and her mom and her brother all sat down together and said, "How can we get these two together?" Hence, we became we.
Yes, the whole thing was a setup. And I couldn't believe it at my rehearsal dinner, hearing that for the first time in front of everyone like this. That was embarrassing. But anyway, during our engagement is when we started our natural family planning journey, when we started our marriage prep with our priest, which was not Father Jacob. He wasn't a priest at that time, but that would have been weird, so that's not happening. And when we went to the marriage prep retreat put on by the diocese, they had gone over natural family planning and the different models, and we chose to do the Creighton model during our engagement. My fiance at the time was down in Nashville in school at audio engineering school, so I was still here. So essentially I was doing it by myself. Sometimes couples do it together. I recommend it so that they're in the know on what's going on and they are getting the same counsel that I'm getting, essentially. But it just didn't work out that way at that time. It was through the parish. We were at St. Pius at that time. I didn't have a primary doctor. We did have an NFP doctor at St. Joe Med at the time, but she was completely booked out, and I didn't have any money. I had a job, but I was supporting him in Nashville, so money was really, really tight. And it was a really difficult time just trying to survive. And so I didn't have a whole lot of support other than my counselor, and I was just starting something for the first time. So I was struggling with it. My chart, it never looked like what it was supposed to look like. And that was frustrating at that time, and it ended up basically seeping into our marriage. Once we got married, it just continued from there. My counselor was also expecting her first children. She was expecting twins at the time. So right after she had those twins, she didn't have a whole lot of time to meet with me. So I just didn't have the support that I felt like I really needed during that journey. And ultimately, after 2 years, the first 2 years of our marriage, we stopped doing natural family planning and stopped doing Creighton and just let God do all the planning at that point. There was no plan. We just let it go because it was easier to not be stressed out charting every day and thinking about this plan. And we ultimately didn't use any other contraception. We didn't consider it because it would have been an added stressor at that point with money and things like that.
So in the midst of our let go and let God approach to try and relieve stress, we're hitting our 2-3 year mark of marriage, and so the questions start coming in. Some of them are innocent of like, hey, have you guys started talking about kids? Are you thinking about that? Some of them are a little more awkward, like, hey, are you guys trying yet? Then do you answer awkwardly, or do you just let it go? I usually was just like, oh, we're trying. Let them take that however they want it. But the one that kind of hurt the most, these questions started building on that stress that we were trying to relieve, but the one that kind of built on that the most and kind of hurt a little bit was the question of when are you going to start a family? And the problem with that question is that we already are a family. Like, yes, there's only 2 of us, but the moment we became married, we became one. We became a family.
Right. The sacrament of marriage is when 2 souls become one. So you're a family from the get-go. And I feel like that is hard to, I guess, grasp. And it's hard for everyone to grasp because when you think of family, you think of the little stickers on the back of people's cars. Mom, dad, little kids. You know, that's just what you think of. But for us, we are a family, and there's essentially 2 paths, right? There's the traditional path that, of course, has some little non-traditional branches, and then there's the full non-traditional path, and that's us. And then we have some traditional branches in there.
Yeah. So that's the beauty. Like, our non-traditional path has really led us to some great traditions that we've been able to establish. For our anniversary every year, we got married in January. It's South Bend. There's not a whole lot to do in the winter, and I'm a huge movie nerd. I forced her to accept my movie love, and she kind of loves movies too now. So for our anniversary, we go to breakfast, and then we go to a movie, and then we go to lunch, and we go to a movie, and then we go to dinner, and we go to a movie. Sounds tedious, but it's actually a really fun day. We also, every Saturday morning, there's a diner just down the street from our house within walking distance. So every Saturday morning, if it's nice out, we'll walk there. If it's not, we'll drive. We go to breakfast there every Saturday morning. They know us so well there that they make sausages for our dog. And Ellen has a special way that her omelet gets made. So
It's wrong. She makes it wrong every time just for me because she made it wrong. And all the other chefs are like, why are you making it this way? It's tradition. It's essentially what she says.
We both grew up with real Christmas trees, and it devastated me when my parents switched to a fake Christmas tree. And so every year for Christmas, we go to a tree farm, we cut down our own Christmas tree. I carry it over my head to wherever we have to go pay for it. And that's one of the ones that's kind of evolved for us. We started just us, and then her parents wanted to join in, and her brother, non-father Jacob.
Yes, I do have another brother that people don't know about.
They wanted to join in with us. And then the last couple of years, they haven't been able to join us, and we got invited along with another group of families. There's a few different families that all go out together and get their Christmas trees, and so that's been a fun evolution for us. I'm really looking forward to going with them again next year to get our tree. And then probably Ellen's favorite of our traditions is our other Christmas celebration. With Ellen's favorite Christmas movie, we have a themed Christmas party where we invite family and friends over, and we watch her favorite Christmas movie, Die Hard. And it's just a really fun night, just kind of people coming together, time to kind of relax amidst all the stress that the holidays can tend to bring on, and just kind of enjoy each other's company. So
these traditions we have, on our non-traditional path, it helps that we have, as a family of two, we have that flexibility. I feel like it's natural flexibility in our lives because we're not doing anything for the kids and keeping the tradition going for the kids, and we're doing it for us and for how our family is made, and it's flexible. So we've been able to bridge that gap between family and friends, and to involve different people in our traditions, and those traditions have evolved over time. I think the prime example is, referencing the tree again, is become the disco tree, is what we name it. Every year, we got a bigger tree, too. So I would add more lights to the tree. And the original lights that we bought, I didn't realize they projected onto the walls. And so, and every year I had to buy more of the same kind of lights.
We're up to 3,500 right now.
So now everybody knows that we have the disco tree. Sean wants to make it rotate. That has not happened yet.
It will happen. But the beauty of our non-traditional path, I mean, really non-traditional means it is what you make it. You kind of go your own way and build things as you go. There is no traditional foundation to build upon. And that's really allowed us to grow our non-traditional family in other ways. At times where we've had friends who may be going through hard times, whether it's getting out of relationships or just life stress, things like that, and some of their other friends who are all our same age are on that traditional path where they've got their kids and they've got a lot of things going on. We have a little more freedom, a little more leeway, where they come over to our house once a week or once a day, and really just kind of become part of our family, to the point of, hey, is Dave coming over tonight? Or do we need to have dinner ready for Dave too? Or and really kind of the prime example of growing our family in this kind of non-traditional way goes back to Antioch. I've been part of Antioch for a really long time. My senior year in high school, I was part of the program, would come home from college on the weekends or on breaks and things and help with retreats, or just kind of go to their Sunday night meetings or their adoration. When I came home from college, my first stint, I became their junior high youth minister and led worship for them. And then, so I've been with the program for 21, 22 years now. And then Ellen has been with the program for 12 years, helping out in a lot of different ways. But all this time, like, we see these kids go, I see them from 6th, 7th grade all the way up through high school, and then they stay in our lives through college, and we go to their weddings, and we see their kids get born and baptized. And really, they've kind of become our surrogate kids in a lot of ways, to the extent that a lot of them call her Antioch Mom.
They do call him Dad too, but let's just be real. They
Mom's more important.
I actually got, my role at Antioch Youth Ministry is really kind of a motherly role. I have a little bit less of a spiritual role and more of a, helping cleaning, serving food, helping with small groups. Taking pictures, definitely taking pictures, and even like behavior. So I keep them in line. They know if I'm looking at them, they're probably not doing something right, or they're not listening. And they embrace it. They really do embrace it. And I also go to their sporting events, and I support them the best way that I can. I got this idea from the Franciscan University of Steubenville, where during one of their big youth conferences where thousands of kids, they have this video every year that advertises their school, and during the video there's a priest at a cross-country event holding this crucifix, like reminding them why they're there, that this is God's glory a little bit. And I kind of was inspired by that and decided I'm going to go to all these sporting events. One time I actually did carry a crucifix. People thought I looked weird, but I did it. So I've been to tennis. I think tennis was the weirdest one.
Not bowling?
No, bowling you can cheer. Tennis, you sit there and you watch and you clap between things and you're yelling by yourself. So
That's fair.
it's weird. So he's clearly never been. But
I've been to bowl.
Yes, bowling is loud and obnoxious and they roar, you know, like, so it's not that, they are more weird than it is being a spectator. So the kids love to see us there. We support them at football and even graduation parties. Every graduation party this year, they are just surprised to see us. They're surprised that we came, and I don't understand why they're so surprised, but because we love to support them. We love to cheer them on. We love to support them in youth ministry and in their lives, like outside of youth ministry, because it's everything to us.
And really, I kind of think that her humility won't let her say just how much the kids on their end really love and appreciate us, and especially her, and that support, to the extent that she gets flowers and cards on Mother's Day. The one year for Mother's Day, they all surprised her. Her and I went to her parents' house to celebrate Mother's Day, and when we came back, they were all in the house, and they had she has a chalkboard up in her studio, and they all wrote up the messages to her on the chalkboard, and they gave her gifts, and it was just a beautiful night. So really, the kids really get just as much, if not more, out of it than we do, and they really appreciate all that she does, especially. So.
I'm going to, this isn't the best transition, but since we've been doing that, this is all happening throughout our marriage. So I've been there for 12 years. So in year 7/8, I'm gonna say, in the fall of 2018, we decided to start doing natural family planning again. We just decided that we were in a good state in our lives. We had decent jobs at that point, decent insurance, so we were prepared to get the answers that we never got before during the first natural family planning in the first 2 years of our marriage. This time was totally different. It's come a long way, everyone. I don't know if you realize, even having this week here, especially for natural family planning, it's a big deal because it just really wasn't that far along back then. And now I was at St. Joe Med. They have counselors that are there and working with 2 NFP doctors now. So I had an NFP doctor plus a counselor, and then I ended up getting a different counselor, a more advanced senior counselor, after they realized, my chart didn't really change from the first time. It still didn't look like it was supposed to look. So I got even more care than I did the first time, and it was better. I would say that the first time, what I didn't really mention before was I ended up seeing that NFP doctor, the original one, the OG, I'm going to call her the OG, at St. Joe Med, and she did look at my chart for a minute and realized and diagnosed me with something that I was suffering with for 2 years and didn't realize it. So I was suffering even more with pain those first 2 years of my marriage that I never realized I was only because I didn't go to the doctor. So this time, going to the doctor and having that support was huge. It was absolutely huge and made that difference in this time around. We ended up, the doctor recommended having surgery to remove the endometriosis from me, and that was on February 11th, 2019, so that was pretty, about a little over 6 months after I started natural family planning again. That date is really significant to me because it was on the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes. My parents and my brother were in the Holy Land at that time, and probably lit as many candles at as many sites that day as they possibly could do. To be honest with you, it was hard to be without them, but I knew that they were literally praying for me in the most holy place in the world. It ended up about, I would say, 3 or 4 months after my surgery. The surgery was successful. It went well in every way that it possibly could, and it did provide the benefits physically for me that it should have. We still do not have children today, 10 years into our marriage.
Except for a dog.
Except for a dog, a very big Italian Mastiff is our big dog. But no, we still don't have children, the doctor essentially told me that there was nothing else he could do. He didn't say that exactly, but I just kind of got the hint, and he was trying to be compassionate, and he really was doing a great job, and I lost it. I completely lost it, knowing what he meant, essentially. And then he recommended counseling, and I completely sobbed even more, like, I'm like not mentally ill. But it ended up it led me to the infertility group that I'm a part of today. And because I decided that I needed to talk about these feelings. I needed to talk about this more, because I just buried it for 5 or 6 years in our marriage. I just buried it. I buried those feelings. I didn't talk about it. We don't really talk about it unless somebody asks us, and it's always a short version. It's never really that deep. But with this infertility group, we meet every 7 weeks, and I could pour my heart out, and it challenges me to think about this and to constantly grow in our lives and move on. So I now am trying to not only do this infertility group, but also we're trying to have our own community and having people that understand what you're going through, along with, of course, your family and your friends. That's important. But I feel like being able to relate to those people is helpful, and it's like therapy. It really is. It's like therapy, and I think I learned that we had to do this in order to move forward with our lives and even consider other options such as, adoption, which is, and just to mourn the fact that we may not ever have a biological child. And I have to say may not ever have, because we have to trust in God's plan. I wrote a couple things down at a recent Antioch retreat, actually, when I was thinking about this talk. And it's not super deep, but it just totally encompassed how I'm feeling. So my objectives really going forward, our objectives are just to overcome fear, overcome pain, overcome doubt. Doubt is so huge for me. I doubt so much, and part of this is to just embrace people who hope for you when you are out of hope. So when people ask, when are you going to start a family, or are you going to start a family, or they have I would say that they have better intentions. They are hoping that you have children. I think that is a good thing. I think it's better that they hope that you're having children. That's like a pro-life stance. Unlike, assuming that we don't want to have children. I feel like that is definitely a negative. So we need people to hope for us when we don't have hope. Because there's definitely several parts of my life where I just felt like I didn't have hope. And then also just to be ready to say yes, to reference Mary's fiat. Mary said yes to something that was non-traditional. She said yes to something that didn't seem possible. And everything, as I said before, everything is possible for God. Mary was judged by others. She had to go through a difficult process, and she had to do it without sin somehow. So I feel like my life, I actually can look to Mary, and she understands what I'm going through right now perfectly, absolutely perfectly.
To kind of affirm what Ellen's talking about with hope, especially, it was kind of funny how much that hope from others can really impact us. A few weeks ago, we told the Antioch kids that we needed to make an announcement. We were letting them know that we were drawing towards the end of our time with Antioch, and that starting next school year, we're just going to kind of be around for retreats and not really around much else. But I had at least 3 or 4 of them come up to me. I know Ellen had a few of them come up to her and say that when we said we had an announcement, they just their brains automatically went to, we're about to have kids. And just that hope that they still have for us, without being in our journey to the depth that we are really, that really impacted us in a really deep and positive way. And it kind of made me bring our story even more to, so I, as I've said, am a huge movie nerd, and one of my favorite things about movies are the quotes. And an even better place to get quotes is the Bible. I've also been a strong believer in kind of having a life verse, something that I've pulled from the Bible that I try to really live my life by, kind of my own personal motto that I've pulled from it. And for me, it's always been one that I actually got at my first Antioch retreat, when I opened a Bible that was handed to me and it randomly had this scripture marked on it, and just really impacted me like instantly as soon as I read it. It's Romans 12:12, rejoice in hope, endure in affliction, and persevere in prayer. So that's really what we do in this journey, is we rejoice in the hope, both the hope that we have for our family, non-traditional, traditional, whatever it ends up being, the hope that we have every day through our faith, and that the others have for us. We endure in the affliction and the pain that is caused from the people who don't understand our journey, or think that we're just avoiding children, in the affliction of just kind of knowing where we're at, and kind of the solace and the aloneness that comes with that at times. And then we persevere in the prayer, again, through our faith, through knowing that whatever God has planned for us, we are willing to just kind of let go and let God, and give him all of our suffering and all of our hope and joy, and offer that up to him in prayer.
And now that we went long, sorry. I knew it was going to be a little bit long. We're going to poorly transition to the next talk. I'm so excited to hear this because I haven't seen Mary Chris in a while since she had her baby, so I am super excited about that.
Hi, so we are Mary Chris and Gerardo. We are actually from Mexico, so you'll pick up foreign accents. We came to South Bend because I'm hopefully finishing my PhD soon in biochemistry, and Gerardo said yes to come with me, so here we are. I just want to say that coming here, so when we got married, I had just finished my master's degree. We've been married for 13 years, right?
Yeah.
Yes. We came here when we were like 7 years into our marriage, more or less.
Yeah.
And then when we got married, I told him that I wanted to do my PhD eventually, but I moved back to our hometown, so I didn't do that. And he promised my dad that he would someday say, yes, I'll go with you and we'll do your PhD.
Okay, that's what happened when you don't read like the small letters.
Yes, that happened. So, but coming here, one of like, and I prayed for years, because I really wanted to do my PhD. And yeah, we came to South Bend to visit Notre Dame in 2010, and I started my PhD in 2015. So like 5 years. So yeah,
And we came in during summer, so everything was nice.
Yeah.
Then when we moved here, I realized that also winter is a little special.
Yeah. There you go. But coming here was really good for us also in our family journey, because we've been through infertility. So we've been married for 7 years already. I've already had one surgery with an afro doctor in Mexico, and we were surrounded by friends with families and kids. And then coming here was really nice because we suddenly were in like a student space where practically nobody had kids, and we were all actually kind of doing the same thing. So always these things that happen, they happen for a reason, and now I understand why God wanted us to come so, let's say so late, but because we were in a better space, right? To be, I guess, a better family of two, so to say. And lo and behold, like, there's an Afro doctor here in South Bend, Indiana, that I would have never thought of. Just a parenthesis, I was already a Creighton practitioner, actually. I'm an intern still because the PhD kind of like went into my education, so I haven't finished all of the things. But very interestingly, I had a lot of infertility couples while I was in Mexico, and a lot of them had kids. And it was just by the grace of God that I was really happy about these kids. And I've always felt that I'm a part of their story, even if they don't know. But I'm a part of their story, and that's one of the ways, and that's something we wanted to talk about as before having our baby, like how we lived our motherhood and fatherhood, because I think that even though we were not biological parents, we could still be a mother and a father. And I think in some way I was a mom to these kids. And yes, that was very important to me. I was also kind of like a mom in some way to my students. So I used to work at the university, and I had around 350 students in my programs, and yeah, I also love them a lot. I still love them, and some of them are already now like married and kids, and I'm like, when did this happen? But it's been amazing. And do you want to talk about your fatherhood? Or so I went through a story very, very
Okay,
so.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, being in this position of not having our own kids, if you have inside you this motherhood or this fatherhood sense, or I don't know how to call it, calling, yeah, for sure. I'm sure God will find a way for you to express, you know, and to make it useful, right? So for life circumstances, I ended up being a soccer coach for kids, for little kids from 7 to 9 years old, and I love it, but then I realized that the kids also have a very special connection with me, right? And I really enjoy being with them and being part of their development, as not just as young athletes, but also as a kids. And then I realized that was what I was doing. I was living my fatherhood through these kids, because that made me so happy and so full of joy and life. And I think you were the one that helped me to realize that. You know, I thought that it was just the love for the game, but for the sport, yeah, you helped me to realize that. So at the end, what I understood is that even when we were an infertile couple, that doesn't mean that you cannot live your motherhood and your fatherhood, okay? And also, that helped me not just to understand, but to have the courage to not let the infertility to define who I am, or who I was, okay? And I understood that even when this tiny part of my life was not working the way I wanted to, that doesn't mean that everything was wrong in my life, okay? So I realized at some point the way that we pray every day was changing from the beginning to now, because at the beginning we both pray to God, like, okay, I don't know if I think it's common that you have like your wish list, you know, and you always pray and ask God to fulfill this wish list, right? And obviously because that's life, some things were fulfilled and some others not, okay? And this box of having a baby was not fulfilled probably every year, and but then, okay, I think then we stopped praying for that.
Mhm.
You know, we were a little tired. It was painful. You know, we went at this point when, in a very human way, having the notice of a new baby in our family start hurting us a little bit deep in our hearts. Not because we were not happy for that new life in our families or with our group of friends, but because there were always these question in our minds that why we can't, why we are not those couples that are having this great news, right? And I think around that time we stopped praying for having a baby. But then I think we got rid of this reconciliation
Mhm.
with God. We forgave him. We understood, and and
The
then
question changed.
the
right?
question changed, right? Then we realized that we were praying to God to help us to understand, and maybe not to understand, but to accept, you know, our reality. And more than that, help us to understand what we have to do with this. What do you want from us, you know, going through this journey? And that was that brings us so much peace in our hearts, because at this point, or until that moment, we realized, at least for myself, I was feeling guilty, you know, to be unfertile, you know, because I think it's in our nature, or probably just in mine, in my human nature, to try to understand what I did wrong in order to deserve to be in this situation of infertility. And the most common answer is, of course, this is the punishment for something that you did wrong in the past. And as a human being, you always are going to find something wrong in your life, right? So it was too easy for me to say, yes, of course, I did something wrong, and then the infertility is the consequence of that, you know. But when I realized that we were starting to have like a different conversation with God, then I also realized that in some way I forgave myself and said, this is not a punishment, this is just life, and life happened. Okay, so I have to accept this, and not just accept it, but try to see what can I do with this that I have. Okay, so and then we started praying to God to help us to understand what should we do with our infertility. Okay, and
And also, I think part of what Gerardo was saying, what also was very important, is to realize how we were fertile in other areas that were not biological. So the soccer was one of the examples, but we have also been very blessed to have a lot of, do you say godchildren? Like, right? So all of our siblings that have kids kind of asked us if we wanted to be godparents to one of their kids, and we said yes. And then friends outside did that as well. So we started seeing that we were fertile there. we started seeing, you know, like, and then we also, besides changing that prayer to, okay, if this is what we're supposed to go through, and in like a big picture, from a big picture, I knew, or I know it has to do with our, you know, with our story towards heaven, even though we might never understand it until we hopefully are in heaven, right? But then we also started being like very grateful and thankful for everything we did have, because it's really easy to kind of not see that, right? So we are here, we were, you know, doing this thing that we prayed so long to do. We were healthy, we were together.
That probably if we had family,
Yeah.
we probably
Wouldn't have come.
yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't
For sure.
decide to come here yet.
And I also, around that time, I joined the Hope for the Journey group, which was amazing because I think, as Ellen was saying, I didn't have to explain myself, right? Like all these things that you're going through, all these feelings, all these thoughts, it's like, oh, they totally understand them, right? So that was awesome. And then, yeah, I think, okay. So then I also want to say that I had another surgery here with the NAPR doctor here. So I was the one who I think told her, though, at least I remember one time, but I'm sure it was at least 3 times that I told him, I think we should stop. Like, we should stop trying to have a baby, right? Like, I think, yeah, let's like throw the charts away, like stop going to the physician. And I thought that if we stop trying, then I would stop like hurting, right? Because if you don't want it, then, and if you don't get it, then that's, you know, oh, finally.
It's a relief.
It's a relief, and I always thought like, well, if God really wants us to keep forward, you know, to keep moving with this, then Gerardo will say something, and she always said, no, we need to continue. So I do have too many charts, maybe, I don't know, 15, 14, I don't know.
We call it the collection.
The collection. And also, I heard the story from another person, and she said that she had 2 surgeries and she didn't conceive after the second one, right? And I think I tended to overthink all of these things that people told me, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have the second surgery, or it won't happen even if I have the second surgery. But like, also, our relationship with God is unique because we are unique. And that's something that I've kind of come to realize. I know it sounds really silly, but your story will be different from ours. But it is a wonderful story, and it is a story of love anyways, right? And as ours is and will be, right? So it's not if you do these things, because that's also that we heard from a lot of people, like, oh, if you pray to this saint, or if you go and do this stuff. And I had like, my mom's friend was like, oh, you have to go to these nuns and they'll pray over you. And then all the couples that got have babies, right? And it's not a recipe, because it's a relationship. So it's like, it's something you are building, and like any relationship, it has its drawbacks, right? So it's it's little by little, but Gerard and I decided that we would continue doing the Creighton as long as I was still having periods, until I went into menopause, kind of. And I did do the second surgery, like I told you, and we kind of never stopped trying, right?
Yeah, and let me say something about that.
Yeah.
And when I said no to her to stop trying to conceive, and not to stop following the Creighton model, was mainly because of 2 ideas or 2 thoughts that I had in my mind. The first one was that at that point, I already recognized that God gave me this fatherhood. What do you say?
Calling?
This fatherhood calling, and I always think, okay, if he's giving me all that I need, and he's giving me this fatherhood calling, there should be a reason why he is giving me. Okay, so I need to keep working on that, and I need to keep looking to fulfill this mission that God had for me. And the other thought that was in my mind was, okay, I don't know if I could live knowing that at some point I decided to stop trying, even when there's still hope. Okay, so yes, in my mind there was not an option for me. It was, okay, let's try until the last consequence, until it's like naturally impossible. Okay,
Yeah.
and but those are like the two reasons why I never accept to stop using the Creighton model, and basically to stop trying to go to our objective,
or yeah, their goal, yeah.
our goal to.
Well, yeah. So so then we then there were like, now I understand that there were a lot of things happening. So while being in the Hope for the Journey group, it was very important to me that, as Gerardo said, we started feeling like very peaceful, right? And we started like realizing all the things that we have.
Yeah.
And we started like, I guess, yeah, being very grateful about them, but also like using them better, if, right? Like, and sharing it with other people, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So then we came to a friend contacted me by Facebook, and he said, I dreamt, I'm gonna start kind of the story. I dreamt that you had a baby, and this here is like a prayer for Mary. You should pray it. And I'm like, okay, like, thank you. Okay. So it took me
But-
like, yeah.
Sorry, but he was not a close friend.
Oh,
right?
no. We had met at the university where I used to work at, and I was here and I hadn't heard from him in a very long time. So I started, and it's a prayer that you kind of are, or go with Mary from the moment she conceives in March to December, so you kind of walk with her. And I started praying it because that was a little bit before Gerardo said that our prayer changed. So sometimes I had to resort back to, like, I would say, formulas, like, oh, here's a prayer, let's just read it and that's it, right? I don't want to kind of overthink it or say or think other things. So this prayer was good for me in that sense, because it was like a formula I could follow. So, and then we came here to a healing night a long time ago that was very crowded. And then when I went to the priest so that he would pray over me, he said, Mary's interceding for you. And I'm like, how do you, like, I was like, how do you know? You know, because I don't even think that I had told you I was doing this prayer. But he said that, and I'm like, okay. So Mary, I mean, my relationship with Mary has been growing so much in this journey, right? And that has been one of like the greatest gifts of this journey, I would say. And then, like I said, we kept doing all of the things, and then we organized a healing night with the Hope for the Journey, and then I told Gerardo we need to go. I don't know, I can't remember if you wanted to come or not.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So we came, and
Okay,
then, yes,
sorry.
you.
I might
Right,
say,
yes.
yeah, that in our marriage, I'm always praying and asking to Saint Joseph, to the Father of Jesus, to guide me, and I always try to follow his example, right? And what he did, is that he always say yes, to Mary and to God. So if there is a healing night and we should go, I say yes. Let's go. So
So we came to the healing night. We were also given a very nice prayer that Lisa Everett printed in this with roses, and it had to do, it had to do with Our Lady of Guadalupe. And since we're from Mexico, I know she's always trying to look for me, but like I said, it's been a journey. And so we came, and when we went to the priest, we went together, and then when he prayed over us, at some point, I don't know how to describe it, and I'm a scientist, right? You need to understand that when I look at the crates and when I look at infertility and all of these things, I try to say pathway AB, right? You fix this, then it's okay. You do that, then it's okay. And everything that I'm telling you, it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to make sense in my mind. It just makes sense to God, and that's one thing I've learned. And also, something that was really powerful to me was to realize that God really loved me in my infertility, that even if I was infertile, He still loved me so much, and He still delighted in me, and He still had fun with me. And I was like, really? I mean, yeah. So those pieces started putting the puzzle together, and then we came to that healing night, and then something really deep inside us changed, and there is no way to describe it, but we felt it, right?
Yep.
And then when we went to the prayer teams, they asked us if we were here because of infertility, and I said yes, and they asked us, what do you want us to pray for? And I was like, please pray that we don't have a broken heart anymore, because that's the thing, right? I just felt like my heart had been broken so many times from whatever, not getting to, peak plus 16, or trying this surgery, and it didn't, my health was much better, but it didn't help the fertility, all these things that.
Yeah, this roller coaster of emotions, that you go in an infertility process, sometimes you have hope and you do some procedures, or you are following some treatments, and that gives you hope, and then when you realize that didn't work, it's a very, very difficult moment, for the couple. And yes, I remember that we were asking for not having a broken heart anymore, and try to accept what we were living, right?
Which goes hand in hand with what we were saying about praying differently. All these things were changing, because we were like, well, this is where we're at, so with a full heart, it'll be better. And then the priests prayed for each other, and then when Father Terry prayed over Father Drew, and yes, this is not, I saw this huge beam of light falling down from heaven. I don't know how to, I saw it, I don't know how to explain it, but to me it just meant that, this is where we were supposed to be at, and that this is a lot of blessings and a lot of light and a lot of good things were going to happen, right? So, and then at the end, Father Terry came to us, and he had an image of Our Lady. I can't remember where from. I think it's from Middle East. And then he prayed with us in Spanish. Do you remember?
Okay.
And that was really special to us, because it's not the same like to pray in your like native language or whatever. And yeah, and that was the healing night. And then Gerardo went to Mexico earlier because he wanted to surprise your mom for her birthday.
Yep.
And then I came later for like Christmas break. And then I went to my NAPRA doctor there because my chart had changed again, and I might need like another procedure, but here it is very expensive to us. So there it would be cheaper. So I went through the procedure, and they didn't find what we thought I had. So I was like devastated because I was like, come on, like this is what the chart says, it's not there. Okay. So
Again, the roller coaster of
again,
emotions.
but also again to say that again we kind of never stopped looking for a new way of dealing with it, right? So we came back here, and I was carrying like a bunch of like drugs from the NAPR doctor again because he prescribed, you know, like the little aspirin and other things, and things that I had taken in the past and hadn't worked, but you know, I just took them because I was like, well, let's just take them. And then it was a Sunday, right? And for some reason you hadn't charted like the last 2 or 3 days, which wasn't uncommon. So, and I told him, I think we are in peak plus 16. And he said, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, no, yeah, go back to the chart. So we counted it, and he said, oh yeah, we're peak plus 16. It wasn't the first time. So I told him, I think we need to buy.
Peak plus 16.
Oh, sorry, I'm assuming you all know. I'm
that
so
means,
sorry.
That means that
Yeah.
you will probably, there's a chance for you to be pregnant at that point. Okay? So,
That's one of the advantages of Creighton, that it allows you to like
yeah.
know that very early. So I told him, let's do this, and he was like, no, I don't want to go through another emotional roller coaster yet again. And I was like, no, yeah, we should do this. And then, so this was just before COVID and all the things started. So we had breakfast at Pex, and like you said, we had these kind of traditions. We loved going for breakfast, not at the same place, but, and now that we're here, we can't afford going every week, but it's okay. And then I remember I was like starving, and like, oh, please give me the coffee, this is just like, good morning. And then we went to the pharmacy, we bought the test, we still went to Costco, remember, because it was going to be my birthday, so we wanted to celebrate it, so we went to buy some things. And then we came back home, and I told him, I need to pee. So let's do this. So I did that, and then I left it there, and I told him, you go see, because I don't want to see it, because again, this is all the, well, it's happened before.
Yeah, because husband, we don't have feelings.
Well,
You can easily, yeah, you go, because you don't have feelings.
Right?
That won't be hard for you, so.
And then he didn't come back, and I'm like, oh no, you know, like this is terrible. Now I have to go. And look
I
at
didn't come
this
back because I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, and that's where it said that we were pregnant, and we could. I mean, we just couldn't believe it. So I remember we just went to the small living room and prayed, right? And we said, we don't know if this is going to, you know, because, I mean, we understand that it's, well, yeah. We didn't know if it was going to, you know, stick or whatever, I don't know how to say it. And then we called our parents and asked them to pray for us, because we were like, this is right, this is what's going on, we don't know what's going to happen, but please pray for us. His dad, do you want to tell that story?
No, okay. Yeah, for sure. When we called to our family, my dad, he told me, I've been dreaming about this for the past 2 weeks. And I was like, what? Yeah. And when we call one of his brothers our little niece.
Who is
Wait,
our
what? Sorry.
she's our goddaughter.
She's our goddaughter. When we asked them to get together because we have something to tell them, and I mean she was like
8 years old or what?
yeah, 8 years old or something like that. She told her mom and her dad, say, "Hey, Mary Chris is pregnant." And I mean when they were like they were like getting all together to attend our call, she told them, "Hey, yeah, I know why they
They're calling us.
they are calling us because my Chris is pregnant. My Chris is gonna have a baby."
My good, yeah, she is
Yeah.
pregnant.
And we were like, "What?" So, and then, I mean, as the news were spread out, so we started to hear like too many stories from people that were praying for us, you know.
And that we didn't know.
So if you are not in this particular situation of infertility, but if you are if you are going through a difficult time in your life, or if you are in a difficult moment, do not feel alone, because you are not. Okay, you don't know how many people is praying over you. You know, you don't know how many people is taking care of you, even when you don't realize.
And when you don't know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah. As our pregnancy went, as we went through our pregnancy, we started to hear this kind of stories of, yes, guys, for sure, we were praying for you for so long, you know? And from people that you have no idea, right? So don't feel alone, because you are not. There's a lot of people who is praying over you.
And we also have, besides Mary, our mother, we have a lot of like saint friends that were walking with us. Teresitas, I call her, Teres. She's always been a friend of ours. We actually met in a youth group where she was the, I guess you call her patron. So when we came here and we realized it was Little Flower, we were like, oh, this is where we're supposed
Of
to
course.
be. Of course she's here. We also have, other, I don't know her names in English, but like, Brigida de Suecia, I guess Bridget from Sweden.
Yeah.
And she was the nuns that the friends from my mom. John Bosco as well, because I have some aunts who are nuns and they're Salesians. And one of my aunts told me that she went to see them at the church and she was like, that's it. She's having a baby. Just do something for her. Like that, she gave them like an ultimatum, which was really funny. She told me later. So besides all of our friends and family who were praying for us, we also have our sense friends who were with us in our journey, and of course Mary, and the only thing I can say is like God is good and He's faithful, and if He has put this calling in your heart, there's a reason why.
Yeah, and God is good not because
We have a baby.
Yeah, not because
Yeah.
we have a baby, but because He gave us the answer that we were asking for, and it was like help me to know what to do with this parenthood
Yeah.
and motherhood, and now we know what to do.